Good evening and afternoon, people of YouTube. Today, wanted to have a quick chat with you about my bass and strings. The challenge accepted videos that we did recently, I'll keep going on about them, but they needed a bass tracking, and that's my thing, apart from audio production, is bass. So, it was time for a restring. Now, when we started tracking, I used this bass, which is a fantastic one-off. You cannot find one like it anywhere. And it was custom made, and we can't actually find who made it, which is a real shame. But it's got Bartolini Warwick style pickups. It's got quite a thin neck and a big growly kind of sound. And it was originally Tobacco Sunburst, but I got a guy called Stephen Hart, who's a local guitar builder, hi Steve, to take that off and put a gloss finish on. And originally there's all these switches and crazy knobs here, and there was an onboard preamp that had been hand wired, which is really bizarre, but that gave up a few years ago, so that's now got an it's Artec system in for now. I'm planning on either putting a dark glass tone capsule in, or something like an Aguilar OBP3, or maybe a John Eastview Retro. I'm really going to have to weigh up the options for that. But anyway, this bass is pretty bright sounding. It sounds kind of like a Music Man Stingray, or a cross between that and a Warwick. And it's got that real kind of bitey kind of sound. But the strings that I had on it were getting kind of dead. They were elixirs. And I decided to try out the new D'Addario NYXLs. Full disclosure, I'm not paid or sponsored or endorsed in any way by D'Addario. I bought these out of my own money, thought I'd give them a crack. I saw Dave Hollingworth, who's Rob Chapman's bass player, talking about them, and I thought I'd give them a try. I used the 45 to 100 set, which is a little odd for me. I usually like 105s. But from what Dave Hollingworth was saying, and it turns out to be entirely true, the strings feel quite tight, even though they're not necessarily resisting too much. It's hard to explain. I mean, here's how the old strings sounded. And then in the same context, in the context of the track, after restringing, quick cutaway. After restringing, it sounded a lot fresher, a lot brighter. Obviously they were new strings, but aside from that, they really have a lot of movement in them, which I like as a fingerstyle player, so I can really dig in, and I don't end up with that guitar style kind of thing. It's just quite a pure note, which is great. They're not floppy, the tension is good, so I can still do things like that kind of tap kind of thing, and that's not impeded at all. But at the same time, I get a growly, meaty kind of tone. Now, from what I understand of these, the core is thinner, so the wraparound is either double or triple, or it's more wrapped and less big, thick piece of metal down the middle, which is something I seem to be gravitating towards. And some of my guitars, I've started using the D'Addario wound third set. I know that Stringjoy have been advertising their sets with a wound G string, which it turns out D'Addario makes some as well, so I gave that a crack. And I don't like big, thick, plain wire wraps. They cut into my fingers. I know I'm being a bit of a wuss, but I don't play as much as I should. I spend a lot more time mixing and producing. So it's good for me to be able to just jump straight back on the horse, as it were, and have a nice, smooth, rubbery kind of tone. Now, what's interesting about these is quite often I find that when I do things like drop D on a 100 gauge string, it's got a kind of a burr to it, which is not too pleasing and doesn't fit in a mix very well. These, I did not have that problem. And interestingly enough, when we came to track the 7-string version of Challenge Accepted, and I didn't have a 5-string bass to hand, so I down-tuned this E string all the way down to, was that a B or A? It was disgustingly low. Seeing as though it was only a kind of a single string part, I thought I'd give it a go, and the string still had enough tension. I mean, barely, just about hung on in there, but it had enough tension behind it for me to complete the performance. When we got to the 8-string version, I went, sod this, and tuned back up and played an octave higher. But have a listen to this. So yeah, Diodario NYXLs, by far for me the best Diodario bass strings I've ever used. I've never been a fan up until now, but I may continue using these. If Diodario are watching this, hey, feel free to send some more of the range my way and I'll talk and talk and talk for you. But as it is, yeah, like I said, I bought these myself and I'll probably be buying more. Thanks for watching. I'm Adam Steele for the Hot Pole.